Oh, shit.
It's called.
Good evening, everyone. It's Monday night. Sports Hounds are live exclusively here on a2dradio.com. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brankman. Frank Vesby is producing the show. Make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Don't miss a damn thing here on A2D Radio. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Instagram, and Twitch. If you miss anything here on A2D Radio, get us, download us wherever you get your podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Takeover Talk. We're everywhere. Join the party. It's getting fun. We got football. We're just at the halfway point. We have a heavy football show tonight. We got a Monday nighter coming up in about an hour, give or take a few minutes between the Steelers and the Bears. We got Knicks, Sixers. We got Ben Simmons, trade rumors. We got hockey in full swing. We got MLB Awards being given out this week. Free agency's looming. They're having the GM meetings. Keep it locked right here, A2D Radio. We are the Sports Hounds. We are brought to you each and every week by All Campus, down on the Ocean City Boardwalk between 9th and 10th Street. All Campus. Be an A2D member. Get 10% off. Become an A2D member. It's only $9.99 a month. You get special perks, shout-outs, picks from the Money Pop podcast. We do the pregame show, myself and John Coyle, every Sunday down there at All Campus, right on the boardwalk. It's a lot of fun. It's the ramp booth. Come down, join us, play cornhole, get huge discounts, get cool hats, hop on the air with us, rant away about whatever you want to talk about. Phillies, Sixers, college basketball starting tomorrow, everything on the table at the ramp booth. Let's get into our poll question tonight because Brad, we talked about it the last 2 weeks. We've talked about it. A stinky team is going to make the playoffs in the NFC. Why can't it be the Giants? Why can't it be the Eagles? Obviously a win yesterday by the Philadelphia Eagles would have helped my case a lot. So our poll question tonight is the Eagles defense will keep us out of the playoffs. The defense is the biggest reason the Philadelphia Eagles lost yesterday. Agree or disagree? I wholeheartedly disagree with this poll question, Brad. The defense stinks here in Philadelphia. We all know that. Their strategy's flawed. They don't have enough talent, especially at the linebacker level. They don't get home with their front four, even though they get paid a lot of money to do so. I get all that. But to me, when you have a quarterback in 2021 that goes 11 of 17 and only makes 11 plays in the passing game, that's not a recipe for winning football in 2021. Look, I would love to sit here and pretend it's 1994 and you can win football games running the ball 40 times and hitting people in the mouth on defense. Brad, it's not. You need a franchise quarterback that's going to stand in there.
Unless you have Derrick Henry. Of course, but
the Eagles don't, and they're running the ball. They're running the ball successfully. Jordan Howard had a big game today, but you can't win in this league against adequate competition with your quarterback going 11 for 17. Jalen Hurts needed to be better yesterday for the Eagles to win that football game. That's the biggest problem with this team right now is they do not have a franchise quarterback. Because if you have a franchise quarterback, you can hide your defense. If you have a franchise quarterback in this league, it is the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. If
you're right about that. And one thing we do know is that Herbert is definitely a franchise quarterback. That guy
he's terrific.
He's unbelievable. I mean, boy, is he accurate. I mean, if you give him time to step into his pass, he hits the target almost every time. The guy's unbelievable. Really is. I mean, you watch Hurts, and Hurts was not bad yesterday. I thought he played extremely well in the second half. But
he wasn't good though.
Well, he made some plays where, I mean, a couple of his passes, especially the ones to the sideline, I mean, he winds up to throw the ball, and it's a humpback throw. It's not like, it's not like he's throwing, has a rifle arm. And I just don't think his arm is good enough to be to be a franchise quarterback. I think he could be a game manager. I mean, he kind of is very Alex Smithish, if you know what I mean.
I hear you. So is Jalen Hurts the biggest problem with the Philadelphia Eagles, or is the defense the biggest problem with this Philadelphia Eagles football game?
I think the defense is the biggest problem right now, especially against good teams, Rob. Every time they played a good team, their defense has let them down. I mean, yeah, sure. They look terrific against the Lions. They look real good against the Falcons. They looked real good against the Panthers when the Panthers didn't have McCaffrey. But meanwhile, against every other team that has even a remotely good offense, they've been plundered. I mean, it's not good.
I watched this game yesterday, and if I have a quarterback that is capable of making just a few more plays, not even anything crazy, like the touchdown to Devontae Smith that he missed. He throws a bullet at the ground instead of high pointing the football and throwing it to the pylon.
Well,
so his receiver, a Heisman Trophy winner, can go up and get it.
He wasn't good in the first half, and the Eagles had a chance to open that game up. And the fact that they came out and they came back and they only had a 10-7 lead when the Chargers were completely outplayed the Chargers, and they only had a 10-7 lead. That didn't bode well because you knew Herbert was going to start moving the ball, and they were going to start scoring some points. They're too good not to. And listen, I thought that Hurts did a nice job. They kind of got into a shooting match, with the Chargers. But unfortunately, the Chargers were able to control the ball. They were able to, especially in the second half, they were able to run the ball and pass the ball. And it just seemed like the Eagles were listen, Hurts made some nice plays. I can't criticize his second half performance. I thought he had a tremendous second half. But the problem is in the first half, when he could have opened that game up, it didn't have to be a shootout in the second half. And that was really the problem. I mean, the deal with the Eagles, if you can keep their front line, their front four off your quarterback, and not terrorize your quarterback, regardless of who your quarterback is, the quarterback is going to demolish that secondary. Especially when Slay went out. When Slay went out, it was almost like they were playing pitch and catch.
Bob Brinkman, the D didn't stop anything in the second half. They let Herbert sit back and pick them apart. And that definitely happened.
It did.
This defensive strategy by Jonathan Gannon and this team, I don't like it one bit. It's just play off and hope you don't get beat deep and just be satisfied by getting a death by 1,000 cuts. Just let them have 9. Now, they play good, but they get a punt. They pin the Chargers back early in the football game on the 2-yard line. The Chargers go 98 yards down the field. They're not able to punch it in. They go for on 4th down. The defense holds, but Brad, it's just death by 1,000 cuts. Week after week after week after week, it's the same thing. I mean, I don't understand. We just got rid of a guy in Jim Schwartz here in Philadelphia that everyone hated because it's just a base defense. It's the same thing every freaking play, and defenses know what they're going to do. The opposing offense knows what they're going to do, and it's very easy to pick apart. You can't let teams just dink and dunk you to death down the field. Get beat deep. It's okay. Get the offense right back on the field. Because if you have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts who can't move the football consistently, who you don't trust to even throw 20 times in a game, what ended up being a fairly high-scoring game, that doesn't work for me in the NFL. It doesn't work. And you have weapons here. This isn't last year with Carson where you had Drek. You have a running game. Jordan Howard has established himself. Boston Scott's established himself. I think Kenny Gainwell had a touchdown yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
You don't have to. You don't have to convince me about Boston Scott, Rob.
I know he terrorizes your Giants every time.
He always does, and I never could understand why the Eagles never really gave him a fair shot. But They are now, and
You
he's proving that he can do it against anybody. He's a good player. I like him, especially if you use him as a third down player. He's really efficient at that. He can catch passes, and there's a lot of things that guy can do.
Anthony Addis, the defense is the problem. Hurts is still young and going to get better. He's only in his second year. Most QBs start hitting their stride in year 4 or 5. You don't get 4 or 5 years at the quarterback position in the NFL, Anthony. You do not get 4 or 5 years to develop your game into a franchise quarterback.
Not with the same team, you don't. If you're not there in 3 years, or you don't show something in 3 years, you're gone. That's generally.
Look, I know this fan base seems to be, at least some of the fan base is really taking a liking to Jalen Hurts, and they.
Well, he's a bulldog.
He
is a bulldog, and I got to give him credit. That one play when he ran and he knew he was going to get hit, and he took the hit and dove for that first down, and he got it, by the way, in the fourth quarter on that last drive. I mean, how could you not love a guy like that? I can definitely understand why the fans like this guy and why they're rooting for him. I just don't think his arm is strong enough. I think that's really the only problem I see. I think the guy is not as inaccurate as I thought he was, but he just doesn't have the arm strength to get the ball in there in a crowd and that sort of thing. He can run, he can create something. I mean, he's not god awful. I mean, sometimes I hear some of the things I hear about him, and then I actually get to watch him play yesterday because the Giants were on at 1, and I thought he had a pretty good game. I didn't think he played particularly well in the first half. Okay, and I think that was an opportunity he missed for the Eagles when but they were only able to get 10 points, and then in the second half, their defense fell apart. And, a lot of the reason that the defense fell apart was that 98-yard drive that the Chargers had in the first half. Now, they didn't score, but the bottom line is you had them on the field so long, they were gassed in the second half. And anybody who doesn't think that happens, they're not paying attention. They were clearly gassed in the second half. And a 98-yard drive will do that. I
mean, look. I like Jalen Hurts. He seems like a good kid, and he's got the intangibles that I would want in my franchise quarterback. But, week after week, I use my eyes and I watch these games, and he doesn't have it. And for Anthony Addis to come on here and tell me that, I have to wait 4 or 5 years for Jalen Hurts to hit his stride, and he gets 4 or 5 years to show me he's a franchise guy, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work anywhere. Patrick Mahomes sat 1 year. I know it's a bad example because Patrick Mahomes is all that in a bag of chips. But he sits 1 year. He gets the keys to the Ferrari in Kansas City in his second year, and right away that he's a franchise quarterback.
Well, same thing with Andrew
Lamar Jackson.
Well, look at Andrew Luck.
Look at Lamar Jackson. The Ravens didn't wait 4 or 5 years for Lamar Jackson.
No, and Joe Burrow.
The Bengals don't need 4 or 5 years to evaluate him.
No, and
they have their guy Justin Herbert. Watched him yesterday. You think the Chargers need 4 or 5 years for Justin Herbert to hit his stride and figure out if he's a franchise quarterback? I don't think so. Peyton Manning struggled in his first 3 years, and then he took off. That's from Anthony. I mean, you look at his number. You look at his numbers. His interception.
Peyton Manning lost his first 10 games. Okay, but after he lost his first 10 games, he improved significantly year 1, and by year 2, he was already a franchise quarterback. So that's not true. That's a bad. Peyton Manning is a bad example. He just struggled. He struggled his first 10 games. But nobody gets 5 years. Nobody gets 4 years. You get 3 years. You have to show somebody something in 3 years. If you can't show that you have enough talent to be the number 1 quarterback. And listen, the Giants are going to have to make that decision with Daniel Jones too. From what I've seen of Daniel Jones has the arm strength. I just don't think he's got the offensive line or right now enough receiving talent to show everybody what he can do. But he's definitely got the arm and the accuracy, and he's cut down on his turnovers a lot. Just that the Giants' defense this year has had games where they just didn't show up. Now the last 3 games, it's been outstanding, but
all right. So I have Peyton Manning's statistics up right in front of me. In 1998, when he was a rookie, he was the first pick in the draft. He got thrown right into the fire, right? So he threw for almost 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 28 interceptions. The 28 interceptions, I believe, was a league record at the time. The 3,739 passing yards, correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, or anyone in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that broke Dan Marino's rookie passing record. All-time record. So Peyton Manning, everyone, you want to say that he struggled for his first 3 years. You know, he broke an all-time record for rookie quarterbacks in his first year.
He didn't struggle for 3 years. He struggled for 10 games. That was it. And after 10 games, he figured it out. And the rest is history.
So then, Brad, in 1999, and his completion percentage in 1998 was 56%, which isn't great, but he's still a rookie.
No,
so then in 1999,
back then,
Brad, he jumps to a 62% completion percentage. He throws for over 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 15 interceptions.
Right. So he had. So who
is that struggling? Is that struggling in year 2?
No.
Now I don't want to get into comparing Jalen Hurts and Peyton Manning, but to say that Peyton Manning struggled his first 3 years, and that me, as an observer of the Philadelphia Eagles, as a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, need to give Jalen Hurts 4 or 5 years for him to hit his stride is absolute nonsense. You know, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Elway, Marino,
Absolutely.
You don't get 4 or 5 years. That's the most ridiculous statement I've ever heard in my life. And then year 3 in the year 2000, that he maintains his completion percentage from 1999 at 62.5. He makes another jump in the passing yardage category to 4,400 yards, and he throws 33 touchdowns and 15 interceptions.
Yeah.
So I don't know where this, and look, I want Jalen Hurts to be great. I want Jalen Hurts to be great. I want him to prove me wrong. I want him to come out against Denver. I want him to throw for 300 yards, and I want the Eagles to win. Because believe it or not, Brad, and I made a video today, and I caught a lot of flack for it, the Eagles and your Giants aren't out of this 7-seed race. A bad football team, a flawed football team, is going to be the 7th seed in the NFC.
Well,
why can't it be the Eagles? Why can't it be your Giants?
It could be the Vikings. It could be the Bears. It's pretty crazy. And you're right. There's going to be a very stinky team that makes the playoffs. Could be even the 49ers. You have all these teams, all these 3-win teams that are in there competing for it. Whoever plays. Really, it's for the most part, it's not. You have 9 more games. Whoever's the most consistent out of these teams is going to win. Every team has, there's going to be a lot of swing games in here, and that's really going to be the telltale story. If the Bears win, then they're 4-5. Then they're. So
go ahead, Brad. I'm sorry.
Everybody has a chance. Whether they will or not is.
I'm not trying to sit here and tell people that I think that this team is just going to flip a switch and play unbelievable football down the stretch and steal this 7 seed. No, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. Most likely they're not going to make the playoffs. But if I can just see a few more glimpses of hope from my quarterback that he can actually play for a sustained period of time in this league, like you win that game yesterday. You win the Niners game in week 2.
Yesterday's game was not his fault. Okay, I'm not going to blame him for yesterday. That their defense yesterday was in the second half was ridiculous. I mean, the Chargers.
I hear you.
They did whatever they wanted in the second half. I mean, the fact that they were able to get the ball with 6.5 minutes to go and just hang on to it and not let them go. And the 49ers did the same thing to them. We've seen it
I hear you.
over and over again, especially at home. I don't know what the issue is at home that they come out and their defense plays such lousy football and seems to play so well on the road. At least, against the bad teams especially. But the problem.
And I know people want to point out that the Eagles are 0-4 at home, but let's look at the home games. The Niners, they're a decent football team. That's the one that we're going to look back after 17 games and be like, damn, if we could have just taken care of business against that Niners team, that's not anything special. The whole season outlook would have been different.
We all thought that they'd end up being a lot better than they are. That's for sure.
I agree with that. Yes.
But
you had Tampa at home, Brad. You had the Chiefs at home, who I know the Chiefs aren't all that great this year, but they're certainly way better than the Eagles. And then you play the Chargers at home yesterday. Pretty good football team. All the weak opponents that you're able to get wins against, they were on the road, and that's just coincidence. So I don't really put much stock into that. They haven't won a home.
They never should have gotten destroyed by the Raiders, though. I mean, you look at the Raiders against the Giants yesterday, and the Giants were able to bottle them up.
And then Anthony Andes wants to know what the 1998, the Colts rookie year, the Colts were 3-13.
Right.
Peyton struggled, so you claim, but he still set an all-time record for rookie.
He lost his first
rookie passing.
He lost his first 10 games, and then he was 3-3 in the last 6. So I mean, that told you right away there that he's look out, he's getting it. And don't forget back then the Colts. Listen, the Colts were really a bad team when he took when he first got there.
And then Anthony Andes, you know what they went in 1999, the Colts, with Peyton Manning's second year?
Well, they also got what their record was, Brad? They got the edge too that year, didn't they?
I think Edge came next year.
Oh, he came the next year? Okay. Who came that year?
I can look that up. But Brad, the Colts jumped a whopping 10 games in the win-loss column to 13-3. They went from worst to first. They had they scored 26 points a game in 1999, third out of 31 teams.
Yeah, no,
They ended up losing the divisional round 16-19 to the Tennessee Titans, which the Tennessee Titans in 1999, they had Eddie George, they had Steve McNair, they had a really good football team.
Yes, they did.
So just look at that. You want to say he struggled in his first 3 years? 1999, his second year, the Colts go 13-3.
Yeah, no,
they're third in the league in points scored.
That's incorrect. That's not actually what happened.
These Hurts fans want to make every excuse in the world for him about how he's young and he needs this and that, and Sirianni stinks, and Sirianni needs to run the ball.
He's dynamic in the fact that because of his running ability, and I guess they saw Cunningham. I mean, listen, one thing the Eagle fans have seen is quarterbacks that can run. Okay, you've seen Cunningham who could run like the wind. Then you see Donovan McNabb who could run like the wind as well. Okay, and Carson before he got hurt could move around pretty well too. It wasn't until he got hurt that he wasn't able to move around. First couple of years he was moving really well. He's moving well this year in Indianapolis. Now he can't beat good teams for whatever reason, but he's moving around well. Yeah, he is. He is. And the Colts, and we'll talk about the Colts later, but the fans see this running ability, this dynamic running ability of Jalen Hurts, and they're mesmerized by it. But the whole thing is, I mean, when he's able to get outside, it's usually because a defensive end is taking the wrong route to get to him, or the contain has been broken so he can get to the outside. And the problem is his best plays are his running plays; they're not his passing plays, and that's got to change. Tom disagrees to the poll. So I guess he's with me. He thinks Hurts is the biggest problem with this team and not the defense.
which, look, a franchise, I'm not saying the defense is good or anything great, but you have a franchise quarterback, a guy that you believe in, the guy that you know is going to be your quarterback for the next 5-10 years. He's supposed to cover up deficiencies on your football team. That's why they make all the money. That's why they're the leader. And I don't see Jalen Hurts ever being that. Bob Brinkman, fans were booing at the stadium after the offsides call against Barnett. 3rd and 6 turned into a 3rd and 1. Get him and Rager an Uber to the airport. Derek Barnett stinks. I can't wait till he is off the Philadelphia Eagles and you can use one of your first hopefully, 3 first-round draft picks on like an Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau.
Well, I can pretty much say, and I think you would agree with me, and I could say this also about my Giants as well, that I don't think either one of those teams, and you're talking about them having between the two of them 5 first-round picks, okay, between the Eagles and the Giants. I don't think there's going to be a quarterback picked by either one of those teams in those 5 picks. I think both of them are going to probably. I think both of them are probably going to go out and try to build their teams, get guys that they need for the Giants. An offensive, a big time offensive lineman and a big time defensive lineman. I think are on the block, and I think the Eagles probably need to do the same. And the following season, you'll probably have some better quarterbacks available, but I don't think anybody should be wasting their hard-earned draft picks on quarterbacks in the draft next year, because I don't see any right now that look to me like they're all that in a bag of chips.
No, I mean, look, Sam Howell looks better. He plays at North Carolina. He had a bad start to the season. He might be one that maybe could be worth it. Like you look at guys like Malik Willis.
Are you going to use your first pick in the draft, your first round pick in the draft, to draft him though?
No, I want a replacement for Barnett. I think there's
that's what
really really good.
But that's what I'm saying. But the Giants and Eagles are not picking first or second in the draft. Okay, they're nowhere near that bad.
Well, don't forget the Eagles do have the Miami Dolphins pick.
Well, the Dolphins won yesterday, so now they're up to 2 wins. So
they're still third. The updated draft order before this Monday night game is still third.
I think the Dolphins are going to play better, though. Their defense is starting to play a lot better now, which is what.
I don't know, Brad, because you beat the Texans yesterday. Now you got a short week. You're playing the Ravens, who are just a significantly better football team. I don't. Sure. So I don't know about that.
They're not going to beat the Ravens, but the Dolphins. I don't think the Dolphins have played the Jets yet.
Bob Brinkman, Hurts needs to commit to being a pocket passer and take off when it breaks down. Yeah, I agree. This nonsense where he just bails on a play when his first read's not there, that works for a while, but you need to develop as a processor of defense. And I don't see that at all from Jalen Hurts.
He also stares down his receivers way too much too. That's part of the problem. Is when you stare down your receivers like that, and Jones does the same thing, by the way. So I don't want everybody saying that I'm picking on Hurts. I know Jones has the same bad habit, but if you watch him, and the way you can tell a guy staring down his receiver is you watch the stripe in their helmet. Okay, you look at the stripe. If the stripe is continuously looking at the same way the entire time when they're throwing, they are staring down the receiver. So for you fans out there who want to know how you can tell when a quarterback is staring down the receiver, watch the stripe in the helmet. That's how they can tell. That's how fans can tell. And Hurts does have a bad habit of doing that. And when the first option isn't there, he decides he's going to run it all the time. And listen, I think the guy can be a very exciting player, but quarterbacks like that don't survive in the NFL. Some of the hits he takes, and he's a man's man, no question about it. That hit he took in the fourth quarter on that last drive when they tied the game up 24-24, that was one of the manliest plays I've ever seen out of an NFL quarterback. I mean, that reminded me of John Elway in the Super Bowl the year that the the year that the Broncos beat the Packers and Brett Favre. Okay, when he went up the middle on a 5-yard quarterback draw and took a hit. I mean, that was spectacular. So he's got a lot of moxie and he's got a lot of guts, and he is a bulldog. There's certain things he's still got to learn some of the nuances of the game. If he can do that, maybe you do have a franchise quarterback. I think the guy deserves to play the rest of the season, though. I think he's better. He's better than Minshew. I don't see Minshew making a big difference with the Eagles' offense as far as their offense is concerned. I would just stick with Hurts. As at very worst, you know what? One thing he can be is a quality backup quarterback and a quality gadget quarterback as well. And listen, look at Lamar. Lamar was not good when he first came up as far as throwing the ball, but he's been getting a little bit better now. He certainly raised his game.
Bryce Blackwell's in the house.
What a comeback by the Ravens yesterday.
Yeah, it was good. Bryce Blackwell's in the house. Eagles definitely want Russell Wilson. I mean, I know that's like a trendy story right now that Russell Wilson might not be on the Seahawks next year, but why would you trade Russell Wilson if you're the Seahawks?
They're not going to trade Russell Wilson. The only way they're going to trade
Russell Wilson. Is it smart for the Eagles to give up this draft capital for a quarterback? I don't know.
Well, for him, I think you get as far as Russell Wilson is concerned, you give up if he becomes available. Okay, if he decides that he wants to get traded, first of all, the Seahawks are only going to trade him where he wants to go, because I think they built up a rapport. If he wants to go to Philadelphia, then you know what? Then if you're the Eagles, you give him whatever the hell they want, because that guy. That is not only is he a franchise level quarterback, he's won a Super Bowl, and he's capable of winning another one, and he can do it all by himself. That's how good Russell Wilson is.
John Malmos, Eagles defense sucks. John Malmos, Eagles defense sucks. We haven't drafted defense in rounds 1 and 2. They better go all defense. I mean, yeah, they've just been content missing on offensive guys. Now, I think that they're Dickerson and Devontae Smith. I'm hoping that can get this front office moving in the right direction, because I think they were 2 good picks, 2 Alabama SEC guys, which I love. Devontae Smith is a player, folks. I know a lot of people want to, say Parsons, and maybe they should have taken Parsons. Maybe they shouldn't have. Maybe they should have taken, stayed at 6, taken Surtain or J.C. Horn or, whatever guy you wanted. But Devontae Smith can play, folks. He's open a lot, but, we need a franchise quarterback to get him the ball. We don't have one right now, and I don't see him developing into one. Sorry.
That's the problem. The other problem, as we said, is, can he even see that far to get him the ball, to get his receivers the ball? Because he's not a tall guy either. He's kind of small to be a quarterback. But let's be honest,
Bryce Blackwell, we had scouts. Eagles had scouts at the Ole Miss Liberty game. Sorry, I'm not a Matt Corral guy, and I'm not building my franchise around a quarterback from Liberty in Malik Willis. Hard pass. I'll take defensive guys. I'll take a receiver. I'll take offensive line help. I'll pick your poison. Edge rusher, linebacker, all this stuff that the Eagles need. I would take that well ahead of Matt Corral or Malik Willis.
Remember, the Brinkman rule, folks, is that Rob will only pick in the first round somebody from either the SEC or the Big Ten. And by the way, back you up on that, because those guys are almost all pros anyway. So
look, Mike Mayock. What did Mike Mayock get hired as the Raiders GM in 2017? I think it was. His draft picks, majority of his draft picks, especially on days 1 and day 2, have been Clemson, Big Ten, or SEC guys. And look at that. They're right in the playoff picks this year.
He's a bad example, though, because his first couple of rounds, his first his first round picks have been one disaster after the next. Although you can't blame him. You can't blame him with Ruggs.
Well, I mean, they're clearly doing something right out there, Brad.
Well,
And
some
it
of the
seems
other
like they
guys,
have a clear.
the later picks have been very good, and
Those
they have
count too. Brad,
Yeah,
Andy Reid was here for 20 years and was the GM for a majority of them. A lot of his first round picks stunk. But what Andy Reid was able to do was rounds 3 through 7, he was able to find all guys he fit into his system that he could mold into Pro Bowlers and All Pros.
I think you could probably, you can also make the argument that Pete Carroll has done the same thing.
Yeah, but Pete Carroll doesn't pick his players.
No, but he has a lot of influence on it. But I mean, you take a look at the Seahawks. For the most part, I'm not talking about DK Metcalf. He's an exception, okay? But if you take a look at some of the other guys they've had, how many 4th, 5th, 6th round picks have they had in their defense that have turned out to be absolutely awesome players? Especially with the Legion of Boom and all that.
The whole Legion of Boom was the whole Legion of Boom.
Yeah, none of them were first round picks.
The entire Legion of Boom was late round guys. Richard Sherman was a 6th round pick. I think Cam Chancellor was a 1st round pick.
Yeah. That's my point, though. That's what I'm trying to say. As
long as you get the guys at some point in the draft, it's fine. John Malmos, I will quit on this team if they piss away draft picks they need for a 30-something quarterback. I don't care how good he is. I mean, okay.
That depends on who you're talking about.
Look, I'm going to challenge. I'm going to challenge John on that. And you're telling me they give up 2 first-round picks for Russell Wilson in the offseason. You're not going to get excited because you want Howard Roseman, the worst drafter maybe ever, to have his 3 first-round picks. You're going to turn your nose up at Russell Wilson so Howie Roseman can have 3 first-round picks. You good, bro? You all right? I just don't know how smart you box yourself in.
Yeah, I would disagree.
It's just a dangerous game, Brad, when you trade for a Russell Wilson because you got to give up the draft capital and then you got to pay him. So all that cap space us Eagles fans have been talking about over the next 2 years, that's going to go to Russell Wilson, not to bring in guys to help Russell Wilson. So it's just you got to be careful. But Russell Wilson at 32 is worth 2 first-round picks.
At 32, you're damn right. Now Aaron Rodgers, no.
You give up 2 first-round picks for him. You still have a first-round pick, to play with, and maybe you throw in instead. You keep the first-round pick. You throw in that second-round pick, which might be a high pick in the draft, and then you can play games with that first-round pick. You can move it back. Get more picks. So, and John Malmos, the Eagles need edge, D tackle, linebackers, safety, and corner. Those are all defensive positions.
He's right. I mean, when
John Malmos wants to say the Eagles finish with 7 wins. I think that's a realistic expectation. I still see a path to 8 wins for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sticking to it.
7
but
wins.
I think fans are going to be surprised
at
how close a 7 or 8 win team in the NFC is to making the playoffs.
7-win team can definitely contend for the second playoff spot. Now, of course, they would have to play. They would have to play either the Rams or the Cardinals. Well, no, the Rams are going to end. One of those teams is going to be a wild card team, but you're going to have to play the Rams or the Cardinals most likely, or the Cowboys in the first round, or the Packers, and you're probably going to get demolished by those teams, especially at home. But you never know. See, the difference with these bad teams, Rob, as opposed to some of the bad teams like Washington last year, or the year Seattle was under 500 and beat New Orleans in the playoffs, they had home games, okay? Whoever the stinky team is that finishes 7th this year is going to have to go on the road, and they're going to get destroyed by whoever they play. They may keep it close in the first half, but
I don't care about that, Brad.
I mean, but the idea isn't to make the playoffs, Rob. The idea is to win the Super Bowl, or to come close to winning the Super Bowl. Making the
No.
playoffs and then getting
No.
destroyed in the NFL is just not good enough to me. That's playing that's not, you're not playing with house money by getting clobbered in the first round if you have a bad record. I mean, you have to.
I couldn't disagree with you more.
Yeah, I don't think getting clobbered in the first round. If you're
I couldn't disagree. I couldn't disagree with you more.
But what does it prove? If you're 7-10 and you get to you make the third wild card spot, and then you lose 38-10 in the playoff game, what does it prove? That you were 7. It proves that you were 7-10 and shouldn't have been there in the first place. That's all it really proves.
But Brad, if you're the 7th best team, you're the 7th best team. Brad, winning is always better than losing. Playoffs is always better than no playoffs. Get that experience. Have Jalen Hurts have an up close and personal experience making the playoffs and getting smacked at what you actually have to do to win a playoff game in this league.
Well, we'll see about what happens. I mean, listen, it's really going to be anybody's guess as to who that last playoff team is going to be. All those teams are incredibly flawed teams. If you take a look at it, whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the Giants, whether it's the Chicago Bears, whether it's the Minnesota Vikings, whether it's the New Orleans Saints or the Atlanta Falcons, all these teams are really not good. Or the 49ers. These are not good teams. These are teams that are going to get absolutely crushed in the playoffs. Crushed. Actually, I think there are going to be 2 really bad teams in the NFC that are going to be in the playoffs. The NFC is just so top heavy right now that this is what's going to happen. And then you take a look at the AFC, and boy, the AFC is just is so evenly matched right now. It's unbelievable to see what's going on right now. It seems like every team in the AFC is either 4 or.
I don't know if 2 bad teams are going to get in.
No, I don't think any bad teams are going to get in the AFC playoffs right now. I think they're all pretty good teams. I think
the NFC.
Yeah. If you take a look right now, the Patriots are definitely starting to look more and more like a playoff team.
I'm talking about the NFC. I want to stick with the NFC.
All right, but I'm just saying the AFC is a completely different animal than the NFC right now. The NFC is just
better. It's better over there. It's better top to bottom football.
Right. The top teams are better in the. If you're talking about the very top teams in the league in football are in the NFC, but overall as a league, the AFC is just much deeper right now.
Bob Brinkman, how about no throw attempts to any running backs yesterday? Gainwell was in for 2 run plays inside the 5-yard line. I don't understand how Kenneth Gainwell has come so out of favor. I mean, this is a guy that was getting snaps over your starting running back in Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders gets hurt. Now it looks like they want to give the ball to everyone except Kenneth Gainwell.
What has Kenneth Gainwell done that got himself in disfavor with Sirianni, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. I think Jordan Howard played really well, and Boston Scott has played really well. So I guess the coach is just rolling with the hot hand.
Yeah, the only problem,
I don't know.
the only problem I have with Jordan Howard, and Jordan Howard is a good runner and he runs hard, but when Jordan Howard's in the game, they're not going to throw the ball to him because he's not a good pass receiver, but he's a solid runner. That's the only problem with him. Scott, I like Scott because Scott brings you that versatility. He can catch the ball, and he's just a very dangerous player. You can also put him in the slot as well. And believe me, as a Giant fan, I can't say anything bad about him because he kills us. He kills us every game.
And then Anthony Anderson.
I have a question that I have for some of you Eagle fans out there. Are you guys getting a little frustrated about the fact that Zach Ertz is having such a great time in in Arizona right now because he is playing very good football right now.
No, I don't care. Look,
I'll
Zach
tell you what.
Ertz, he played here for a bunch of years. He was a really good player. And you have Dallas Goedert, who's younger. And, you got whatever you got. You got, I think it was a 5th-round pick for Zach Ertz.
But you don't. But he was a pretty good target though. That's what I'm saying is if you're trying to make the playoffs and you kind of let him go. I mean, is there any regrets here?
But it's interesting because Howie Roseman is rebuilding. Like this team is rebuilding. It's dumb luck that the 7 seed in the NFC is going to be a flawed football team. Like that's just a coincidence. You understand? Like a normal year, a 3-6 team would be dead and buried, and 3-6 teams like your Giants and my Eagles aren't buried in the NFC. It's an uphill battle. And it's probably not going to happen. But, I've seen them beat Atlanta, demolish Atlanta, who's the 7th seed right now, on the road. I saw them break Carolina's heart on the road.
And we've seen the Giants spank Carolina at home. And we've seen them beat the Saints on the road and beat the Raiders yesterday. And their defense was able to create 3 turnovers against the Raiders. And who would have thought that? And they almost beat Kansas City. They should have beat Kansas City. They had that game in the bag and they let it get away. And as a matter of fact, they should have won the Washington game too. The Giants. I mean, the Giants right now should be 5-4. It shouldn't even be 3-6. But that's why the Giants are 3-6. So they found ways to lose. And the problem is teams like the Giants, teams like the Eagles, seem to find ways to lose. As Bill Parcells used to say, you are what your record says you are. So
I hear you.
That's kind of what's going. That's kind of what's going on. But you know what? They have as good a shot as anybody. The Eagles have the easiest schedule by far out of all these teams. There's no way any of these teams have an easier schedule than the Eagles. I can't imagine that would be the fact. I mean, you take a look right now. Right now, the Eagles are going to be playing. They've got home games against the Cowboys, against the Jets, the Giants, Washington. I can't remember who else off the top of my head, but I mean, there's a very good possibility they're going to win those 3 games. So right there, that's 6 wins. So a couple of big wins on the road for this team, and they have a shot. If they could beat a team like Denver, why not? Especially if it's a case of if it ends up being a 7-10 team, why not? Who knows? I listened to the Cowboys yesterday. They were human. They came out and played a pathetic game against the Broncos. And Dak Prescott, good for him. He took ownership of it. He completely blamed himself, but he's surely not the only one to blame. They gave up 30 points to the Broncos. They were down 27-0 yesterday to the Broncos. They were so bad. They were so bad that when they were on TV in New York, they actually moved and put a different game on. That says something. That says something.
Anthony Addies, look at the Packers too. They mold their draft picks. They mold their draft picks at the quarterback position, but they've been molding Jordan Love for a year and a half, and he came out yesterday and he stunk.
He terrible.
He absolutely stunk against a bad Chiefs team. I know that sounds weird to say, but the Chiefs stink, folks.
The Chiefs
stink. And Jordan Love did not look like he belonged.
The Chiefs' defense is not very strong. To put it mildly, the Chiefs' defense is not one of the better units in the league right now. And for whatever reason, Patrick Mahomes.
But if you look at the Packers,
well, I mean, they're going to get
Packers, Brad.
Yeah, they're going to get Rodgers back. So.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah, but he's probably not going to be on the team next year. Doesn't look like it. He doesn't seem like he can get along with his coach or his management or the owners. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what his bugaboo is. He doesn't think they draft good enough and give him enough help, even though they're 7-1 after 8 games every year. So I don't get it. But there's a very real possibility that Jordan Love is going to be your franchise quarterback, your starting quarterback in Green Bay last year, and that would scare the hell out of me. That's why you can't sit draft picks like that. Because great, you molded him for a year and a half, and then you need him to step up and give you something, and he couldn't do it.
No, he was
with these draft picks, Brad, with these draft picks almost right away. And I know that's not fair because they do need time to develop, but a trained football eye, an educated football fan like we have here on the Sports Hounds and A2D Radio. Hold on. Like A2D Radio can tell within a half a season of consistent playing time if a guy can play or not. And I don't see it from Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I don't think Jalen Hurts is Monday Dak Prescott. That's for sure.
We got a football game coming up. Looks like the Steelers and the Bears are going to kick it off here. The Steelers favored by a touchdown. The over-under is really low. I think it's 43 last time I looked. Brad, the Steelers is a hammer play for me tonight. Steelers -7.
Yeah, probably. Because I don't see the Bears doing much offensively. I mean,
the over-under is only 40.
Fields is going to have his problems tonight playing in that stadium. The Steelers have always been good at home, especially on Monday nights. So it's good that they're going to be up against it, to say the least.
Yeah, not a good spot. I mean, the Steelers' defense is for real. I think Big Ben's good enough. A lot of weapons. Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson are banged up for the Bears here, and I don't see how the Bears can hang with a good team like the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers really need this.
The Steelers really need this game, by the way. They can't afford it.
They're sitting in the 6th seed. Going into the game, the Steelers sitting in the 6th seed. So they need the game. And the Bears.
Well, the Bears need the game too, but the thing is, again, the Bears just aren't very good.
And if the Bears can somehow win this game, like, they're going to be right there for the 7th seed too.
Yep. Well, they have 3 wins, right? Aren't they 3-5 right now? I believe they.
Yes.
I believe they're 3-5 right now. If they lose this game, then as a Giant fan, I'm rooting for the Bears to lose, to see them 3-6 because we have their pick. And as it sits right now, the Giants are. If they lose as it would sit right now, the Giants would have 2 top 10 picks next year for the new general manager after they fire Gettleman, because I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell that he's going to be GM again next year.
So we got a big one Monday Night Football. I love the Steelers -7. We'll keep you updated. Sixers and Knicks, they're getting after it. Brad, not going well for the Sixers tonight. I think that the shorthandedness with the health and safety protocols and the COVID stuff is catching up to them.
They don't have Embiid. I mean, if the Knicks had to play the Sixers without Randall, what do you think would happen? I mean, nothing for nothing.
Yeah, they would get.
Embiid is the best center in the NBA and one of the, probably one of the top 10 centers in the history of basketball. So, when you miss a guy like him, what do you expect? Plus, you still haven't made a trade with Ben Simmons yet. So, who's going to score? I mean, they may still win anyway. The Sixers are just right now, to me, have been playing at a very high level. So, it wouldn't surprise me if they won this game. Really wouldn't. So, what is the score right now? What are we talking about?
Just went to commercial. I'll get back to you on that. It
Okay,
was a 15-ish point lead for the Knicks.
Okay. Rangers are have a big surprise right now for the Rangers. They are ahead of the Panthers, 2-0 in the second period. Rangers got a shorthanded goal with 5 seconds to go in the first period, which really, really was a huge goal because the Panthers were putting on offensive pressure. And Shesterkin is looking like a second coming of Bernie Parent tonight. However, I got to tell you, Rob, the Calgary Flames, they're a machine. They're an absolute machine. That is one great.
So it is. It's officially halftime in the Sixers-Knicks game, and it's 58-44 Knicks.
Well, you're in the game. That's not insurmountable.
No, it's not insurmountable, but I mean.
And Bryce, you're right about the Flyers. They're playing real well.
Bryce Blackwell, Flyers playing well. I've been impressed with the Flyers. They get a big win over the Capitals over the weekend. You know, they're playing really good.
The Rangers
Cam Atkinson that came over from Columbus.
Oh, he's a tremendous player. I've been telling you that about Cam Atkinson for years. I've always liked him. Always liked his game. My only problem with him is the last couple of years he's been getting hurt. But if he stays healthy, he's really, really going to help that team. And I think he's a much better player than Voracek. I think he's just a high energy kind of guy who can spark the team. And he'll even drop the gloves once in a while when things aren't going right to spark the team. I mean, he does everything a good player should do, and I believe he was also the captain in Columbus as well. So there's leadership coming out of that player too. But getting back to football, I want to talk a little bit about the AFC before we start doing early leans and going into MLB and that sort of thing. The AFC has really gotten interesting with Buffalo losing to Jacksonville yesterday, which was incredibly shocking. The Tennessee Titans making a statement against the Rams yesterday, and boy, was that a statement. And then the Raiders losing and the Chargers winning. The AFC is wide open. I mean, you take a look at all these teams. They all have a legitimate chance here. Nobody is really right now. I think you were right last week when you said it about the Titans. They might be the best team in the AFC right now. I mean, even without Henry. And the more Adrian Peterson plays, the more
Look, when you beat a team like the Rams, like you beat them last night, you beat a team like the Bills, like they beat them. Bills still a good team. They have a huge hiccup yesterday in Jacksonville. There's no way a team that has Josh Allen, a quarterback, should be losing to the stinky, hapless Jacksonville Jaguars. But they did, and things happen. But they have a lot of big-time wins. They've already beaten the Colts twice, so they have they're in total driver's seat in the division. They've beaten the Rams. They've beaten the Bills. They've beaten the Chiefs. This is a really good football team. This is a well-coached football team. This team is tough and mean.
They had their hiccup too. I mean, look at what happened what happened with the Jets, and that was with Henry. It seems like all these teams seem to have that one real bad loss. I mean, the Ravens had their terrible loss against Cincinnati when they got smoked. And Cincinnati had that bad loss against the Jets, and then they just got absolutely humiliated by the Browns yesterday. So it just seems like in the AFC, all these teams seem to have this one an unbelievable loss on their resume. So you talk about Buffalo's loss to Jacksonville. I mean, the Titans lost to the Jets. The Raiders go and lose to the Giants, which that was a surprising game yesterday. And they only get one touchdown. And it wasn't really one of those Meadowlands games where the wind was that bad. Derek Carr just reverted back to the old Derek Carr yesterday. So it seems to be that league right now. That league
I think that teams like the Bengals, like Are the Bengals ready to make the playoffs? They've looked good and they look cute here in the first half of the year, but there's some really good teams in the AFC. I think Cleveland it has yet to be heard from. How about Cleveland yesterday? They pummel the Cincinnati Bengals. Odell,
why do I feel like a weight's been lifted off Baker Mayfield's shoulder with Odell Beckham out of the mix? I know Odell's a good player and a good athlete, but I mean, at what point is it more harm than good to have him on your team?
I don't know. I mean, listen, he hasn't played. He didn't play first part of the year because he was hurt, and then for whatever reason, Baker wasn't throwing him the ball. And he's a big baby. If you don't throw him the ball, he gets all pissed off, just like all the top receivers do. And Odell's playing for a contract, so he got all ticked off about the fact that he's playing for a contract and he's not getting the ball thrown to him. So he overreacted and he got himself cut. You know what? He's going to end up probably. I still think he's going to end up on New England. That would be my best guess. And if he gets on New England, that suddenly becomes a very dangerous football team.
I don't know. I don't like that fit at all.
Well, if anybody will keep him under control, he'll be Belichick or he'll be gone. Because if you remember, Bill Belichick.
That part I agree with. Bill
Belichick brought in Antonio Brown, and Antonio Brown lasted 2 weeks and played well, by the way, for them. And then Belichick said, "You're out of here." So if Odell does get picked up by that team, which I think
was with Brady as the quarterback,
right? And I think but I do think if God forbid the Patriots get him, I think that puts the Patriots in a situation where they can make the playoffs too, because he's going to improve a top team. There's no question in my mind. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing the Giants pick him up. I mean, not only would it. Well, here's the other thing, Rob, and if you're John Mara, you have to think about this. Will it put some fans in the seats? So, and whatever team he goes to, he's going to put fannies in the seats. I know you're against him going to the Eagles, but that'd be a pretty nice weapon for Hurts.
Yeah, and I don't understand Eagles fans that are clamoring for Odell Beckham Jr. I don't understand it. You want the team to run the ball. You want to bitch and moan every 5 seconds about how this team doesn't run the ball. And then you want to bring in a receiver that's going to demand the football in the passing game. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know about anybody clamoring for him. I'm just saying I think he might improve the team. I think he'd improve any team he goes on. He certainly has the talent. But again,
I don't want Odell Beckham.
I don't want Odell Beckham on my team at all, whether I'm Super Bowl bound, a 500 team, or a bottom dweller. I don't want him. Not interested.
Okay, and that's understandable. I mean, he is a big pain in the neck.
Bunch of Benny's Nations in the house. He's checking us out on YouTube.
Can see him in Seattle. That's not a bad pick, because I think Seattle is the team to watch here in the NFC for the 7th seed, because they're going to get Russell Wilson back next week.
And you know what? At this point, that could be. That could be a. You're right about that, because with him in there, that would be a very interesting situation, to say the least. But again, I'm gonna stick to my guns here about Odell Beckham. I say he ends up with the Patriots.
The Patriots, okay.
Yep, that's my
John Malmo. Send him to the Raiders. Now the Raiders did sign Deshaun Jackson. Obviously, they're a receiver short with the Henry Ruggs tragedy fiasco. So I guess that would take them out of the Odell Beckham sweepstakes.
Would you rather have Beckham or would you rather have Deshaun Jackson? I mean, I don't think there's any there's only question about that.
I mean, look, the Raiders signed Deshaun Jackson. I don't want either of them, because they're both.
Yeah, I mean,
they're both not worth the headache.
They're both always injured all the time too. That's the other.
I mean, when was Odell Beckham Jr.? When was his last productive season? He hasn't
2
had
years
any in
ago.
Cleveland.
No, he had one really good year in Cleveland. He had 1,000 yards season 2 years ago. He had 4,000 yard seasons with the Giants. I mean, right now it seems like maybe the Giants picked the right time to let him go. Sometimes it's better to let a guy go 1 year early than 1 year late. But I still think he's got something.
It's always better to let a guy. I mean, it's always better to let him go a year early and catch some flack than hold on to him too long and be stuck with a washed up clown like Odell Beckham Jr. is.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Look, I don't want your dad posting things on Facebook about how the quarterback's not getting you the ball.
No, but he's not.
I mean, I can't have it, Brad. I can't have your dad on Twitter barking up a storm. I can't have it.
Well, could you have let me ask you a question. Could you have LaMelo Ball on your team? I mean, his father was worse.
Well, basketball is a whole different animal. You can have crumb after crumb and you're starting five, and if they're the best talent you can get, you should do it. Basketball is a whole different animal. Football is much more of a team aspect.
I agree with you, but at the same time, he can be an electrifying player. I think he's still got it in him. I mean, I guess my question is, how fast can he run now? Has he lost any speed because of all those injuries? That's really what that's my question.
John Malmos, he's some draft pick, posting his mock draft for the Eagles. Like, I'm not there yet to talk about the draft, but I've heard of some of those guys that you posted, and let's sign them up. Any defensive player from Georgia is fine by me. That team is a bunch of certified super predator animals down there in Athens.
That's
Georgia.
one of the best. That's one of the best defensive teams we've seen in a while in college football. Not great offensively, but boy, their defense is just ferocious. How many pros do you think are going to be on that defense? At least 5 or 6, right?
Quite a few.
Yeah, I mean they really
quite a few. I don't even know which ones are draft eligible and which ones aren't.
Yeah, I don't either. But I'm just talking in general. How many pros do you think are on
Greg
that
Malak?
I'd say at least half of them.
I mean, you start 11. I would say half of them are pros.
Yeah, I think so. Greg
Malakovic, he's in the house. He agrees to the poll. Missing a wide open Smith in the end zone doesn't help either, but the defense definitely number one.
Yeah, their defense.
I got to push back. I mean, I got to push back on that because I'm not sitting here saying the defense is anything great because they're not. They stink. There's a whole bunch of metrics and a whole bunch of stats that prove that. But if you have a franchise quarterback on your side yesterday, you win that football game against the Chargers.
No, I would agree. If you had Dak Prescott, you win the game.
Correct. I couldn't agree with you more, Brad.
I would agree. And even after the bad game he had yesterday, I mean, one thing I'll say about him, and I can't stand Dallas. So anybody who thinks I'm a Dallas fan, please don't insult my intelligence. But I like how he reacted to us in the post-game press conference that he had yesterday. He took full responsibility. He didn't back off. He took every question. He took every insult and did it like a man, and good for him. Of course, it's a lot easier to do that when you're, 7-2? I guess it's a lot easier to say, okay, we had a bad game, and I was awful. Yeah, okay. But getting back to the Hurts thing.
I have the playoff picture up here.
I mean, it's close.
Brian Wilson's in the house. Look, if you have a franchise quarterback yesterday, I think you win the football game against the Chargers. As bad as the defense was, as gassed as they were, as much as they didn't blitz, as much as they play off coverage, and I hate their team strategy. If you have a franchise quarterback yesterday that you can trust to throw the ball more than 17 freaking times in a game, you beat the Los Angeles Chargers yesterday. You do. And then you're really right in the thick of it for the 7th seed. Because a bad football team is going to make it in the NFC.
Too bad
A
football
stinky
teams
team.
don't make it.
And the Bears, they stink. They're off to a great start tonight. They're already down 7-0. Najee Harris just knifed through their defense like butter. So Steelers up 7-0 on Monday Night Football. It's a Rob Brinkman hammer play, the Pittsburgh Steelers tonight.
Yeah,
Laying 7, 6.5, depending on your book. But,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I just can't get over it. I don't understand what people see in Jalen Hurts that think he's a franchise quarterback. Franchise quarterbacks win that football game yesterday against the Chargers.
They see the running. They see the runner. Franchise quarterbacks beat the San Francisco 49ers. You know, that seems right now to be the bad loss, the really bad loss for them.
Yeah, that's when the Eagles go 7-10 or 8-9, and a stinky Atlanta Falcons team makes the 7th seed, a team that you beat soundly in week 1, 32-6. That's the game you're going to look back. Man, if we could have just gotten that Niners game. And by the way, the Niners aren't tragic. They might be the 7th seed.
Yeah, and they only have 3 wins as well. I think you're right on though with I think the Seahawks have the best chance to turn things around and start getting things going. Because again, getting Russell Wilson back is going to be a big lift for that team, and that really was a killer injury for them because it just killed their offense not having him.
Trying to get the NFC. I just had it. Here it is. Let's look at these playoff pictures before we talk about some baseball. Because I think it's about to get fun in baseball. I think it's going to be a very entertaining offseason for both your Yankees, my Phillies. I think there's going to be trades. Yeah, it's going to be fun. We got the awards coming out this week, so we'll get into all that coming up here. We'll continue to
getting a Gold Glove in right field over Aaron Judge, and now Yankee fans are pissed off that that Gallo got it over Judge. I mean, guys, he's on our team. Shut up. I've never seen anything like that in my life. That all the Yankee fans are pissed off about it. You know, he's a really one thing I would say about Gallo.
All right, so we look at this. I got this NFC playoff picture up here. I mean, okay. I think it's pretty obvious that the Cardinals are the cream of the crop in the NFC. I mean, you don't have Kyler Murray or DeAndre Hopkins yesterday, and they picked apart the San Francisco 49ers.
No, he absolutely. Colt McCoy picked them apart. And by the way, Rob, I don't mean to change the subject, but the Rangers are now ahead of the Florida Panthers, who have who are undefeated in 11 games. They're now down 4-0, the Panthers, to the Rangers. And it should have been 5. The Rangers actually had a goal disallowed. So it looks like the Panthers are finally going to lose. I think that's pretty safe to say at this point. Now, again, you're right about the Cardinals. There's no question about the fact that they look like. I mean, Colt McCoy actually looked like a pretty good quarterback with that team, didn't he?
He's a good backup.
He is
much worse than Colt McCoy.
As your backup? Yeah, you're damn right you can.
Oh,
now,
I mean,
I'll tell you, he was Zach Ertz has really done a nice job, and I'm not trying to rub it in. Okay, it's not about that. He's done a nice job with the Cardinals. He really gave them. I mean, the Cardinals had a bad loss with their tight end getting hurt, but it seems like he fits right into that system. That was a good pickup for them.
And then the Packers, they
Rob, you're muted. I think you knocked your microphone out. We still can't hear you.
We're having technical issues with Rob's. We
How's
got it.
that?
There we go. Now we can hear
There we
you.
go. We're back. We're back.
What
And
about
were you
now?
saying?
Now?
You're good.
All right. So, I mean, are the Bucs the second best team in the NFC, or are the Packers the second best team in the NFC? I think it's the Bucs.
I think it's the Packers right now.
It was impressive that their defense only let up 13 points in Arrowhead. I mean,
yeah, they're healthy.
but at the same time, the Chiefs have I feel like the Chiefs have myself and the football world brainwashed, because I want to yell from the mountaintops that they stink and they're not good, and it's a year-to-year league, and it's not last year, it's this year, and the Chiefs aren't good. But whenever I look at,
they can make you look really bad though, Rob. They have the ability to win 8 in a row. You know that.
they do, and they're currently the 8th seed in the AFC.
And they look. But by the way, I don't know if it was the Giants or the Chiefs, but they sure didn't look that impressive against the Giants last Monday night. Giants should have won that game. If the Giants weren't the Giants, the Chiefs would have lost that game.
So, and then you have the Buccaneers and the Cowboys. They're division leaders. And then you have the Rams.
Slight edge.
You have 5 really.
You have 5 teams that could win.
You have
they could
5
win.
really elite teams in the NFC.
Right. You have 5 teams that could win.
And then I think
in the NFC.
And then you have the Saints, who I don't think the Saints can win the Super Bowl, but the Saints are pretty good, even though they lost yesterday to the Falcons.
I just don't think that they're good enough.
I think I'm going to pencil them in.
They'll make the play. I think they'll make the playoffs. They'll find a way.
And then you have the 7 seed, which is a total free-for-all. You have the Falcons at the 7 seed at 4-4. The Panthers are 4-5. Vikings are 3-5. The Seahawks are 3-5. The Niners are 3-5. The Bears are playing right now, but they're 3-5. They're about to punt and give the ball right back to the Steelers. Justin Fields has no chance in this game. He is getting thrown to the Wolves on the road in prime time. This is going to get ugly here on Monday Night Football. And then you have the Eagles at 3-6, the Giants at 3-6, Washington, who is idle. Minnesota is 3-5.
So they're in it too.
They're currently the 9 seed. They're in it too.
So there's a lot of football to be played, but all these teams are kind of stuck in the middle. So let's see what happens. I mean, they're all in it. They all have a chance. That's for sure.
So I have this chart up. It's actually pretty cool. Playoffstatus.com/NFL/NFL standings. If you're out there looking at home and want to follow along with us, with me at least, you have, the 5, 6, and 7 seeds. So the 5 seeds, the Rams, they have a 5% chance to not make the playoffs. So they're probably going to make the playoffs. The Saints have a 28% chance to not make the playoffs. Higher than 5, 28%. Obviously, the bottom can fall out. You have Trevor Siemian, but they're probably going to make the playoffs, according to the Saber metrics of this website. Then you look at the rest of them, Brad. The Falcons have a 66% chance of missing the playoffs. The Panthers have an 86% chance of missing the playoffs. The Vikings have an 81% chance of missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
Eagles, Bears, 85% chance of missing the playoffs. Stinky team's going to make the playoffs in the NFC. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
What does it say about the Giants? 90% not make the playoffs?
90% chance to miss the playoffs the Giants have.
I hit it right on the nose.
So, but the thing with the Giants, the difference between the Giants and the Eagles is that
And the Giants got a big win yesterday because I think the Raiders are a good football team.
They have a much easier
The
schedule.
Eagles have played the gauntlet of their schedule.
Yeah, no, the Giants still have a couple of tough games left. They still have the Cowboys and the Tampa Bay Bucks. So I mean, they still have two very tough games left. The Eagles only have one, and that's the Cowboys. And the rest of the games are winnable.
They play the Saints too.
They play the Saints.
They play the Saints too.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's not an easy game either. So
that game is at home, and I don't know. The Saints, the Eagles have kind of ever since Alshon Jeffrey kind of dropped that football in that playoff game with Nick Foles in 2018. The Eagles seem to have the Saints number. They got a big win. Jalen Hurts beat them last year at the Link. They're going to get him at the Link again. So we can see that's not an unwinnable game.
No, it's not. The question I think is going to be at that point is going to be who's going to be the quarterback. Is Simeon still going to be the quarterback at that point?
Who?
For the Saints?
Simeon or Hurts?
Simeon going to be the quarterback.
Well,
for the
Winston's
Saints.
not coming back.
No, but what about the other guy?
Taysom Hill. I mean, Taysom Hill was active yesterday, and he kind of did his change of pace role.
Yeah, they're still not putting it sold on him being the starter. I'm a little surprised by that. Aren't you? I just think
Taysom Hill came in and played well against Tampa,
and he wasn't bad yesterday.
And Simeon,
he did put 25 points up on the board yesterday.
Yeah, they were down by I think 18 with 10 minutes to go, and then they had a chance to win.
Yeah,
so that's pretty good.
They lost because they missed that 2-point conversion. I mean, It's 25-24. They went for 2, and they didn't get it. So I mean, that was basically the difference in the game. And then you left Matt Ryan with a minute and 2 timeouts, and that was too long. The Falcons were able to get down the field and score. And the Falcons, what a difference with them since the beginning of the season when they absorbed that thrashing against the Eagles to now. They've turned things around. And I don't think anybody thought that was going to happen. I think it was all gloom and doom in Atlanta, and now all of a sudden, they're 4-4? I mean, I don't think anybody could have expected that. But now I remember who the Giants play, by the way. Their AFC East opponent is going to be the Miami Dolphins. So the Giants have some winnable games too. However, if you're a Giant fan, Rob, we all know that there's always something wrong with that football team. They always find a way to piss games away, and I'm sure they'll find a way to lose too many games this year, just like they always do. So I would have more faith in your Eagles making the playoffs than I would the Giants making the playoffs at this point in time. As crushing as it is for me to say that, it's true. I can't look at you guys with a straight face and say, oh yeah, they're going to do that, because I don't think they are. Now, as far as the AFC, who do you think wins the West? Chiefs are in last place, which is shocking. And then you got the Denver Broncos, who play the Eagles. I think they're 4-4, right? Yeah, I think the Broncos are. I believe the Broncos are 4-4. So if the Broncos beat the Eagles, they could be a team that could win that division. Really crazy this year in the AFC West. Rob, I think we lost you.
Yep, you are muted again, and I need to mute my
I'm not
TV.
even doing anything.
There we go.
You have me back?
Yep, we can hear you now.
All right.
Rob, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, because I was talking about the AFC West. The Broncos are very much alive.
Yeah, they're 5-4. They got a big win yesterday, and this kind of fugazi push I have for the Eagles to make the 7th seed. It starts next week against the Denver Broncos. It's not going to be an easy game, but it's not an unwinnable game.
No,
So, we'll see.
By far, it's not an unwinnable game. You absolutely.
Now, you asked me who's going to win the West.
That's a tough one.
Look, I think that as the season goes on, and they have pretty good run game, pretty good offensive line, pretty good receivers. Their run defense was ranked 30th coming into yesterday against the Eagles. They weren't tragic against the run. They let up some. They got gashed a little bit by Jordan Howard. I would go with the Chargers. Because, like, Brad, you look at the Raiders, how much turmoil and controversy can you overcome? You know?
It's gonna be it's gonna be tough for them. But listen, I give them credit where credit is due. Their defense has gotten a lot better this year than it's been in years past.
It has, and then they got the knucklehead who's waving a gun on Instagram. Arnett, a former first-round pick, they cut him. Henry Ruggs has been cut. He obviously has huge problems, huge legal issues right now. You know, your head coach gets thrown to the wolves. Let me get this straight. So, this law firm gathers 650,000 emails from the Washington football team, and John Gruden's the only bad egg. How does that work?
I don't want to say what I'm thinking because I
and then they don't. Roger Goodell doesn't want to release the emails.
Yeah, well,
like he doesn't want to release the emails because all his right-hand men, even Roger Goodell himself, a bunch of other owners, a bunch of GMs, a bunch of coaches are in that investigation, saying some probably some fucked up shit via email. You know.
Yeah.
So they throw John Gruden to the wolves. I would sue the NFL, by the way, if I were John Gruden. I really would. I would sue them for the remaining whatever was left on his contract that he had to forfeit for resigning, and I would sue the NFL because that's nonsense that he's the only bad egg in 650,000 emails, and idiot Roger Goodell won't release the emails because he doesn't want to expose his buddies as being the crumbs that they are. I would sue the NFL if I were John Gruden. But how much turmoil can the Raiders overcome? Is it going to bring them together? They beat the Broncos right after the Gruden controversy, but then the Henry Ruggs controversy happens and the Arnett controversy happens. They go to New York and they lose to an inferior football team. So I don't know. I think the Raiders might not make the playoffs.
You might be right. I don't disagree with you. I think somehow the Kansas City Chiefs are going to find a way to get into the playoffs because they can't be this bad. I cannot believe
they are though.
I know.
Let's play a game.
We want to know the game, but we can't hear you.
I want to play the game really bad. I really do. I don't know what he said. Frank, regarding the Chiefs, though.
All right, we can hear you now.
Okay. Rob, we didn't hear the game.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. We got to hear the game.
All right. Maybe it'll work now. I'm trying to use the stupid mic so it sounds better, but I don't know. Either I don't know how to work the computer
or the mic sucks, or I don't know how to say. I have no idea. But, I mean, let's play a game with the Chiefs.
Okay.
You think the Chiefs are going to figure it out and make the playoffs, which they might.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is really good. Andy Reid's always get better as the season goes on. So you have Titans, Ravens, Bills, Chargers as division winners.
Agreed.
Division leaders right now, I should say. Who's
Right.
better, the Chiefs or the Raiders? Who's better, the Chiefs or the Raiders?
I want to say the Chiefs.
If they played tomorrow, who would win?
I think the Raiders would win.
I agree with you. What about if the Chiefs play Patriots tomorrow, who would win?
I think the Patriots would win.
Okay. If the Chiefs played the Browns tomorrow, who would win?
I think the Chiefs would find a way to beat them.
Okay. If the Chiefs played the Bengals, who would win?
I think the Bengals would beat them.
Okay. If the Chiefs played the Steelers tomorrow, who would win?
The Steelers.
Okay. If the Chiefs played the Broncos tomorrow, who would win?
Oh, I got to give it to the Broncos right now after that win against Dallas. But I just can't believe the Broncos are going to.
So you just said last one. Chiefs play the Colts tomorrow. Who would win?
Oh boy. You know what? I would have to go with the Chiefs only because just Wentz just finds ways.
Okay, so the only contenders for the wild card that you think the Chiefs could beat tomorrow are the Colts and the Browns.
Yes, but they could win the
They're
division.
not going to make the playoffs.
They may not. You're right. They may not. If they keep playing the way they're playing, if they don't all of a sudden turn it on, they're not going to make it. With that team, I just can't believe that they're this fast. I mean, I know every year is a different year, and I get that, especially in the NFL, because weird things happen. Guys get old and fall off the cliff. Guys get injured, and they're just not the same player the next year. I get that, and Mahomes is having an off year for whatever reasons. There's something up with him. He's not playing at the top of his game this year. I get that, but it's just hard to believe.
Andy Reid with the best comment of the night. I'm not sure which comment he's talking about.
What did I say?
I don't know. Maybe Andy can expand.
Yeah, I'd like to know what he obviously liked something I said. I don't know what I said other than knocking my own football team, but that's okay. I always do that.
They're giving out baseball awards, Brad. We gave the gold glovers went out last night. We got some silver sluggers that got announced tonight or are going to get announced tonight. Then you have Cy Youngs and ML and MVP awards being handed out later in the week.
Well, I think it's a lock that Bryce Harper is going to get one of those silver sluggers. I think that's
absolutely
a mortal lock because he was sensational this year. He absolutely took a mediocre baseball team and carried them on his back and did everything he could to keep them in contention this year. Had he not missed a couple of weeks in the middle of the season, who knows?
Trying to bring up the Gold Glovers because I think the Gold Glove is one of the most underrated postseason award, individual postseason award.
We had 5 Cardinals getting them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Brandon Crawford got one. Glad to see him get one. He's always been he's one of the most underrated shortstops in baseball all these years. I mean, he's a real good player.
So, I mean, I'm just going to start at first base and go through. So, one of the goals. 1 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 Goldschmidt gets it. Edman gets it at second baseman. Nolan Arenado gets it for third base, and Tyler. Yeah, Tyler O'Neill and Harrison Bader get it in the outfield.
I mean,
so
honestly,
over half.
I don't watch the Cardinals enough to make a or the National League enough to agree or disagree. The only guy I know that's incredible defensively is Arenado. I mean, he's the closest thing I've seen to Brooks Robinson in the last 30, 40 years.
And the AL, I mean, Carlos Correa, he's going to get paid this offseason.
Yes, he's already been offered. He's already been offered 5 years and $160 million. Except I think he turned it down.
5 years, 160. That's what?
32 a year.
$32 million a year. The Astros bucked up and gave him that.
They offered it. They've offered him that. I think he wants 10 years. I think that's what it's all about. I think he wants a better term. I don't think the amount is the problem. I think it's the term.
So he wants more years.
Yes, that's what. At least this is what I've heard so far. Okay, and I'm not the Bible. Okay, but I'm just basing it on what I've read.
Gold Glove. I mean, winning a Gold Glove in your contract year, that'll do something. That'll do something for you.
It helps. I think Nicky Lopez is a better fielder than Correa, but they're not going to give it. They're not going to give a Gold Glove to Nicky Lopez. So that's just my opinion.
I would look at the Detroit Tigers for Carlos Correa. I think that's a pretty good fit. I don't know.
I'll tell you what. I think your team and my team could end up trying to get Carlos Correa.
I think you're right. I really want Corey Seager in Philadelphia.
No, yeah, we all want him, but he wants a 10-year deal too.
I'll give Corey Seager a 10-year deal.
He wants 10 years and $300 million. That's and he has Boris representing him. So,
well, I mean,
he might
they can ask for whatever they want, but it's about.
No, I'm not, Rob. I'm just saying what they're looking at. This is what I've read on MLB Rumors. Which is, by the way, I think is a fantastic website. For those of you who don't read it, I have it on my phone and I look at it every day, and they're right on target with almost everything they say. And they're real good, real good. The only thing I don't believe is that they're saying that the Yankees are going to go out and have all these massive signings. I don't think so. I've heard a lot of stuff. About Freddie Freeman or Anthony Rizzo at first base. I've heard the center field with Marte, which I don't believe they're going to pay him. And then I hear Seager or Correa at shortstop. Those are the big three. And now I'm hearing rumors about Verlander. Hal Steinbrenner is not going to pay all those guys. So I don't know where everybody's getting all this stuff from. If they get one of those guys, then that I think is realistic. But they're not going to get all. They're not going to get all four. They're not going to get 3 out of 4. Maybe 2 out of 4. I've also heard rumors with the Yankees with Matt Olson coming from Oakland because they're not going to be able to afford to pay him. We'll see. I mean,
yeah, I read same situation there in Oakland with Sean Manaea.
Yeah, well, Sean Manaea would be a real nice pickup for the Yankees because he's left-handed. He would be a nice pickup. He'd be a good pickup for your ball club.
He would be an excellent pickup for the Philadelphia Phillies. Look, the Yankees are really good. Like, I know the season didn't end in a World Series championship or a parade or anything like that, but the Yankees are in the playoffs every year. It's really hard to make the playoffs consistently in the MLB. Only 5 teams make it. You can't rely on the wild card. You got to win your division, and the Yankees are there every single year. And if you add a guy like Sean Manaea, a lefty, to the Yankees, I mean, that's a power move.
I would love to listen. But who would you rather? If you're Brian Cashin or if you're Dave Dombrowski, okay? Because you need pitching too, by the way. Okay, if you have a choice of Robbie Ray or Sean Manaea, Who are you going to pick? Do you think Robbie Ray's going to do it again?
No, I would want Sean Manaea.
Me too. Robbie Ray had a great year this year, but I don't believe it. I don't think that he's ever going to come close to doing that again.
He's a free agent, right?
Yes, he is.
You got to be careful with these guys who pop in their free agent year,
especially when they're already in their prime, when they're like 28, 29. Robbie Ray has always been a good strikeout pitcher, but I mean, all of a sudden this year he became Sandy Koufax until it really mattered. Once it mattered at the end of the season, he started pitching like crap. So just a little thought there. Manaea, huh?
I think I would like to see his splits.
Well, if you take a look at his last few games, his last like 3 games, he did not pitch well. Robbie Ray in September when the Blue Jays were putting on the pressure and trying to overtake the Yankees for that second wild card, and trying to overtake the Red Sox for the first wild card, he was not very good. You know, he got smacked.
I would be more interested in his splits. You know, because remember they played half the season in that Buffalo stadium.
True.
Which didn't seem like conducive for offense at all.
He pitched real well in that Buffalo stadium. I think part of the problem with that Buffalo stadium was that it was very dark in that stadium.
Right. And then, you know, you go back to a offensive ballpark like the Rodgers Center, and I feel like Robbie Ray didn't do as good. I think Sean Manaea is I just think he's a better player than Robbie Ray. Yeah,
Sean Manaea is he's strange though. You know, he'll throw 3 or 4 great games, and all of a sudden he'll have like a stretch of 3 or 4 clunkers. Then he comes back with the big effort. It's just he's strange. He's very strange. Good pitcher though. Wouldn't mind having him on my staff.
Carlos Correa. I just have Carlos Correa's stats up here. Excellent season.
Oh yeah, I just can't stand him. I need a
lefty.
I would hate to have him on the team. I would so much rather have Seager, only because I can't stand those Astros, those guys that cheated. I just can't stand those guys. And the other thing is Seager's left-handed, and the Yankees really, really do need a.
Yeah, I want Seager's left-handed bat in Philadelphia.
Yep. Well, either way, his left-handed bat would play well in Yankee Stadium too, with the short porch and right.
I mean, I'm not going to
stadium too.
I'm not going to turn my nose up at Correa.
No. Because
then I could hit. You know, maybe I'll hit Correa 4th. Maybe I hit Bryce 2nd, Correa 3rd, Real Muto 4, and just hit you that way. How much money do you think Starling Marte is going to get? Because he's really attractive for the Phillies as well. The Phillies.
He's 32 years old though, so he gets maybe. What does he get? 3 years. 3 years, 80 million. 3 years, 75 million.
That's 25 a year. That's expensive, but I would.
I know, but I think he might get it because a lot of teams. I mean, the guy leads the league. He led the major leagues in stolen bases. He had the highest batting average in both leagues. You know, even though he wasn't officially the batting champion, his overall average was the highest in either league. I mean, he hits a lot of home runs. He's a high average hitter, as I said before. He's a terrific player. So I think it's going to cost around. I think 3 years, 25 million is what it's going to take. I think he's going to want 5, but I don't think anybody's going to give him more than 3. Guys who can run. I don't like paying guys who can run after they're 35 years old. So I think most GMs would probably be the same way about that.
Let's look at some of these finalists. Look at the finalists here for these awards. So American League MVP. There's 3 finalists listed.
Well, you know it's going to be the MVP. It's not even worth trying to argue. You know that they're going to pick Ohtani. I mean,
yeah, the 2-way thing is going to.
Yeah, it's just Even though I think it should be Vlad, it's going to be Ohtani.
I don't know. I mean, Shohei Ohtani at 46 home runs. He had 26 steals. So he's going to be in play for 40-40 maybe as he progresses here in the major leagues. 103 runs to 96 walks, a 965 OPS. He played in 155 games as a hitter. And then, oh, by the way, he went 9-2 with a 3.18 ERA and 156 strikeouts over 130 innings pitched. So
well, here's the question, okay? Was his pitching, his WAR was probably one of the highest in history this year, I would say. No?
It was 9. Right?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever had a WAR that high. So how in the world is he not going to be the MVP?
So, I mean, Zach Wheeler was he finished second in MLB in WAR at 7.7, and Ohtani was up at 9.
Okay. Did he have the best ERA?
3.18, no, he did not have the best ERA.
Who had the best ERA? Bueller did, right?
AL. I'm not sure. I'll figure it out. But, I mean.
It's going to be close.
And Vlad Guerrero, he would probably be second. 48 home runs. Led the AL in on base and slugging. And he led the majors in runs scored and total bases. His teammate, Marcus Semien, who is going to be a free agent, had an excellent season.
Also won a Gold Glove, by the way.
Also won a Gold Glove.
At second base. How do you like that? And the guy's a shortstop, too.
So they kind of steal. How about Salvador Perez? Poor Salvador Perez. He has the best offensive season a catcher's ever had, and he can't even get a nomination for a finalist.
No, that's just unfortunate. But what Salvador Perez did do is cement some Hall of Fame credentials, though. That's basically what has now happened to him. So,
and he couldn't even get a Gold Glove. Sean Murphy of the Oakland Athletics gets the Gold Glove.
I mean, I've seen Sean Murphy catch. Okay, Sean Murphy isn't that guy. I don't know. Where do they come up with this stuff? Sean Murphy, everybody runs against him. He doesn't have a great arm. I mean, against the Yankees, he wasn't all that impressive. Maybe he was against the rest of the league. I mean, I had him on my fantasy team, but that's for offense. You know, was he really that good? I guess he was.
Well, whoever votes a Baseball Writers Association of America, they think he is.
Yeah.
Now, the National League MVP, Brad, that's a little more controversial. You have Bryce Harper, who I think should win it because the Phillies stunk, Brad. And the only reason they were somewhat relevant in the NL East race and the wild card race down the stretch was because Bryce Harper was just an unbelievable player. Bryce Harper led the majors in slugging at 615, led the majors in OPS. He hit 309, and he had an on-base percentage of 429. He hit 19 of his 34 homers post August 1st.
What about trying to think who else was
Juan Soto. Juan Soto is a finalist.
Okay. And I would assume Tatis is the other one.
Tatis
right?
is another finalist. Soto, he would be second in Bryce Harper. Soto, he hit 313, 29 home runs. He's only 22.
He's not going to get the MVP.
145 walks he had.
Oh, jeez.
He had a WAR of 7.
That's a crit. 145 walks, though. That's not his fault. I mean, if nobody's pitching to him, what's he supposed to do? I'd still. What was Tatis's final numbers?
Well, you remember Tatis hit the ground running, then he got hurt, and the Padres kind of fell off. So, I mean, and the Nationals, they were like the Padres didn't even win as many games as the Phillies, and you know how critical we are of the Phillies here in Philadelphia.
Right, but what were Tatis's final numbers though?
I have them right here.
I mean, if they were overwhelming,
So he led the National League. He led the National League in home runs with 42, and he had 25 stolen bases, which was third.
Wow. And RBIs?
Don't have them in front of me.
Yeah, to me, RBIs might determine it. I don't know. I know
Bryce Harper only had 84 RBIs, and that's the knock on him. But is it Bryce Harper's fault that
no
one was on base and all of his home runs pre-August 1st were solo shots?
Well, the question is, how many RBIs did Tatis get? If he got 95 or something, then okay, then I would ignore it. But I mean, if he had an overwhelming number, if he had like 115, 120, I have to give it to Tatis.
I don't think he played enough games, Brad, to have that many.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't know. I'm
gonna look it up right now. But I think Harper should win. He's my favorite player and on my favorite team, so perhaps I'm biased.
No, but I mean, it's still fair. I mean, if he
had
won
97 RBIs, Fernando Tatis had 42 homers, a 282 batting average, 99 runs scored, and 97 RBIs.
97 RBIs.
Bryce Harper had less home runs. He had a much higher average. He scored 100 runs, but he didn't knock in as many runs.
What about on-base percentage?
On-base percentage, Bryce Harper's was almost 420. Fernando Tatis, 363.
And I have to give it to Harper.
So a significant.
Yeah, that's because that counts.
Gap there.
Yeah, that counts too. So the Phillies have a slightly better record. I think they're probably going to give it to Harper. I would give it to Harper. It's close. It's really close.
I really hope so. Because that would be. First off, I want to rub it in the face of all the Bryce Harper haters that I think he's just like not a good player, and like
how can you say he's not a good player?
He's overrated. He's overpaid. Like,
well, he's one of the he every year he's capable of being every year of being one of the best, if not the best player in the game. He's got that kind of talent. Now, it's not easy to put up the best numbers every year. He's not Mike Trout. We know that. But I mean, in the National League, I think his numbers were a little better.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the arms, the Cy Young, American League Cy Young.
Well, I think it's going to be Robbie Ray.
Your boy Garrett Cole is a finalist. Lance Lynn is a finalist, and Robbie Ray is a finalist.
Robbie Ray had the best numbers, so I would have to. I don't care how many wins Garrett Cole got. I'd have to give it to Robbie Ray. And I love Garrett Cole, but he wasn't the best pitcher this year.
So Robbie Ray had 2.84 ERA with 248 strikeouts and only 193 and a third innings pitch. His WHIP was 1.045.
There you go. And Cole probably had similar numbers, but they weren't as good. And listen, I'm a Yankee fan, but I give you my honest opinion all the time. You know that. I try not to use that unless the numbers are better. I don't think Garrett Cole had numbers that good. I think his ERA was over 3. I mean, I know he had a lot of strikeouts. That I know, but his ERA was over 3.
Yeah, I mean, Cole has 16 wins, 3.23 ERA, 243 strikeouts, but that's not even as many strikeouts as Robbie Ray had.
No, I think Ray was a little better. So I think you got to give it to Ray.
And then Lance Lynn, I mean, he's a finalist because it looks like they have 3 finalists for each award, but
Lance Lynn is not going to be.
He's significantly behind the other two candidates. I mean,
Yeah,
2.69 ERA, 11-6 ERA.
He's not in that. He's not.
He didn't even get the 200 strikeouts.
Yeah, he's not
with 176. So
yeah, no.
I like Lance Lynn. He's a bulldog on the mound, and I think the White Sox were smart to trade for him from the Texas Rangers. But
he's not the Cy Young Award winner. That's not going to happen.
Now you get to the NL Cy Young, and it's possible, Brad, that the Phillies are going to have the National League Cy Young Award winner and the National League MVP and miss the playoffs, which would be unbelievable. So
I don't think Wheeler's going to get it because I think at this point, if you look at Buehler's numbers, they're a little better.
Well, Buehler's not even a finalist.
Well, who were the finalists then?
We have Corbin Burns from the Brewers and Max Scherzer from the Dodgers and the Nationals.
Really? They didn't. Buehler wasn't in the finals.
Max Scherzer's numbers are ridiculous.
What were his numbers?
37 years old, 15-4, 2.46 ERA, 236 strikeouts in under 180 innings.
Oh my God.
And obviously he goes from the Nationals to the Dodgers in the middle of the season, but I mean, good grief.
15-4 is pretty darn good, but you know what? It's not a fluky 15-4. He deserved that. Oh my God! What is Wheeler's numbers that good?
No. Yeah, Wheeler's probably, if you stack up the resumes, Wheeler's probably third because Corbin Burns had a heck of a season too.
Yeah, but I think they'll give it to Scherzer.
Scherzer would have my vote.
Yeah, Scherzer. Yeah, with those numbers. But good for the Phillies to have two guys in the top as finalists for those two awards. I mean that tells you something. There's talent on that team. They've got to increase their depth, and they've got some of their minor league players. A couple of guys have to step up from the minors. They need that really bad.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of Sports Hounds. Keep it right here on A2D Radio. Jimmy and Everett coming back with the Flight Zone. I would imagine they're talking Eagles, Sixers. That game's probably wrapping up. Thank you to everyone who liked our show, subscribed to our show, commented on our show. Thank you to Frank for producing our show. Thank you to our great sponsors. And thank you, everyone. He's Brad. I'm Rob. Until next Monday, peace out, everyone.